Hello all and welcome to this tutorial again. So in the last video, we have seen how we can calculate variance and standard deviation. Also, we have seen how we can interpret variance and standard deviation. So basically, standard deviation is nothing but the square root of your variance. And we have seen variance is useful to understand how spread out our data is, like how far the data points are there from the mean. And we have seen two main scenarios, whereas like low variance and high variance. Low variance means most of the data points are present near to the mean, and high variance means most of the data points are spread out from the mean, or can say far away from the mean. Okay, so the third measure of dispersion we'll see in this session. So here I will put out the third, and this measure of dispersion is what we call as range, and this is one of the easiest but most important measure of dispersion. So range is nothing but the difference between maximum value and minimum value. Difference between max value and mean value. That's the simple definition we can use for range here, and it's very easy to calculate the range. Okay, but what actually range is? Okay, so let's say here I have one of the data point. I will mention here. Let's say here is my one of the data point, like that. So I will use the shape for that. Okay, so let's say here is 1 point, can say it's a starting point. Okay, and here is the end point we have. Okay, and the difference or the distance between these 2 points is what we call as range. So there can be multiple data points which are present inside this data. So here if we say just like that, we can have multiple data points present here. Okay, so I will just slightly increase the font size. 1, 2. Okay, so let me erase this part quickly. Okay, so here let's say this data point, this data point, this data point, this data point, this data point. Okay, so there can be multiple data points present between your first value, or can say the minimum value, and the maximum value. But range is nothing but the difference between your max value and the mean value. Okay, so let's start with the same example we have seen. So can you see here we have marks of 11 student. The maximum mark we got from this data are 90. So I will highlight this data point, and the lowest marks are 6 here. So can you see all the others numbers are lies between 6 and 90. So here if we calculate, or if we try to calculate the range, then range will be the difference between your maximum value. So I will use the formula here, max, and for max I will select all the data points, press enter. So max is 90, but formula is not completed yet. We have to minus this data from the mean, and here calculate the mean value. So from the same data I will calculate the mean. Okay, so here range is 84. So I will select the data in the same way and increase the font size slightly and create the table for all the values. So guys, in simple way, these are the three important measure of dispersion. And again, if we try to repeat it, measure of dispersion helps you to understand the spread and distribution of data. Spread, in simple way, we just have to understand how spread out our values are from the mean or from the average. And for this purpose, we have seen variance, standard deviation, and range. Okay, so this is all about measure of dispersion. We'll see the next statistical concept in the next video. Till then, keep practicing and keep exploring.